Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Filter. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Everyone's a special guest to me because they're all my friends and family. So, I am joined by Grip. But go by I always call you like three names. You have a new name now.
My name is Elijah Walter Griffin.
There we go.
Senior now.
But you also go by?
Yeah, Griffin.
Yes.
Griffin, yeah, definitely.
So, we are going to do this episode. I particularly want to first even commend you for coming on the episode because a lot of people say they want to be guests. I remember earlier you sent me a text and said, yo, get me on the podcast.
Yep.
And I just kind of blow it off and be like, man, this dude ain't serious. But you followed through and was like, when am I going to do it? Let's schedule it. Let's plan it. You went back and forth with me on the outline. You were one of the few guests where I didn't have to bug to be on the podcast. You were all about it, all about the message of positivity. And I really appreciate that because it makes it very organized when someone wants to be on a show rather than me hounding someone to be on the show.
Absolutely, definitely. I really appreciate what you're doing here, so I wanted to be a part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and also I like to tell the listeners that listen, you are, I think, the few, I think there's only two other recipients of the Ill Phil Awards that have two.
Yeah.
One is my frat brother Shannon, who coerced me to get him a second one, and you who I gave two because I wanted to respect your new name.
Absolutely.
So I mean, we're gonna go on tangents.
Yeah.
My ADD's off the chain. Can you explain the motivation for changing your name?
Okay, so my birth name was Griffin Smith, and it's a lot behind the Smith name in my family. And so as I got older and realized that the Smith name was a name that was changed, my mom was actually born another name. So it wasn't her father or her mother's name. It was a name that my grandmother remarried. And so it changed everybody's name. She had already had three daughters from a previous engagement. And so changed the name. And so when I lost my father early teens. And so once I got older, it was, I started researching my history, and I went down the Smith lane. I was like, oh, I'm not really a Smith. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
You know what I mean? I'm not really a Smith. That's my uncle's father that my grandmother married. And so it was really important for me to research my history. And once I realized who I was and where I came from, I changed my name.
Dope. That's actually a really dope story. So, two follow-up questions to that. One, how easy is it to change your name?
It is the easiest thing you can do.
All right.
You literally, it takes $44.
Okay.
You go down to the courthouse.
Which one? The county you live in?
You go into any county you live in. So I live in Fairfax County, and so I went down to the Fairfax County courthouse. I went up there and filled out a paper, and they literally take it to the judge, and 2 or 3 weeks later, they send you the judge signs off on it, and you're officially.
And you get a new ID and everything.
You get a new ID.
What about your Social Security number?
Social Security stays the same. I mean, that doesn't need to change. So
the number stays the same. But
the number stays the same. So what you do is, I didn't know right at the beginning that I had to actually, go to Vital Records and say, look, this is my new name, change it. Because they'll still have, for the first 2 years, they still had Griffin Smith in the file. Dope. And so it was kind of strange when I was filing my taxes, they would get rejected. I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't want to continue with the whole Griffin Smith part of it because that really wasn't my name anymore. And so but it's really, really easy. $44. I remember my mom, I said it to my mom like years ago that I was going to change my name. And she said, oh, that's expensive. And so.
Okay. Now, where'd you, and particularly, I know a lot of people, Ancestry.com, 23andMe, all this family history. It's expensive. It's a little business. But how did you do your family history?
So my family history is, my mother's side of the family, we know back up until probably 3 or 4 generations. And so it was easy, to research that part of it.
Where, like public library or where?
Public library. My family does a good job of keeping records, you know what I mean? Keeping pictures and different things. And once you know the name, you can just look it up. You can look, they keep a good track of names and, where they lived. And so even if you know a name, you hear people talking, oh, your cousin such and such.
Yeah.
You can verify and look it right up, where they were at this point in time and, in history. But my father's side of the family, it's very vague because my father was, he only talked to a few people in his family. And so he was very, very, he
was
really didn't.
But he wasn't only child.
No, he's one of 5 children, three boys and 2 girls. And so I actually have 2 of my one aunt, one uncle who's actually still living. My oldest uncle is 83, still professor at UDC, mathematics, worked at NASA for 40 years, and he's still going strong. He won't retire. He just keeps moving. Then my aunt, she lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, retired, and just I just saw them this summer.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So I particularly got you on the podcast. Particularly, I'm gonna call this community activism. That's gonna be the title of this podcast, aka subtitle "Be Blessed," and we'll talk about
absolutely.
that later.
We'll talk about
that later. Be blessed. But you have a strong connection to the community, most specifically, City of Alexandria. And we're going to talk about the things you do in the community, and I think that's what I wanted you on the podcast to talk about.
Absolutely.
What ways people can get involved. But talk about your ties to what we'll say when we say community activism. What is your community and your background in that community?
So I'm born and raised in Alexandria, Virginia, City of Alexandria portion. I was born in an area called Cameron Valley, which is torn down now.
What's it by?
So Cameron Valley is off of Duke Street, right behind the 7-Eleven. It's not Cameron Station. Cameron Station is further down the street.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so that used to be all public housing. It was his own community, had its own grocery store, had its own rec center.
Really black community.
Oh, absolutely. And so what happened is, after a certain period of time, they got rid of Cameron Valley and moved everybody out. And so from that point, we moved up what we call Uptown, which is near Charles Houston Recreation Center up on Alpha Street.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's where I spent most of my time in the city of Alexandria there. But I'm originally, my family is originally from, when we came to Alexandria, Virginia, we're from.
But you also rep the highway too because you went to Mount Vernon.
Absolutely.
So you moved up down Richmond Highway.
I moved down Richmond Highway from in the 11th grade and came down there and met. It's funny because even though I was born in the city of Alexandria, once I came to the highway, majority of the people that I still keep in contact with are
highway
people on the highway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I see my boys in TC, they always say, man, you know what I mean? You with us first. It's like, yeah of course. Absolutely.
Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
So, and shout out to all the people at Mount Vernon that you're connected to.
Yeah, definitely.
So, with that being said, community Alexandria is a big push, and one of the things I admired about you is your connection to community. Is that you're what we'll say is an average Joe, which you're not. You're way extraordinary. You're not an average Joe, but for the listeners that think that they consider themselves average Joes, you do a lot for the community. You do a lot of organizing for the community, events, programs, things like that. Can you go back and for the listeners, talk about one of maybe your first ideas of doing something for the community and what was that like? So
my very first instance of community activism started with a group called the Untouchables. Shout out to the Untouchables. Theodore Jones, Seaside, and Chucky Moore. There's George Loganell, Michael J. People that started it from the very beginning. This is an organization in the city of Alexandria, started at Charles Houston Recreation Center in 1988. And so they basically started because there was a need in the community for positive things and for boys to see positive black men doing things other than selling drugs and being incarcerated and different things like that. And so these guys, the guys that I mentioned, formed a group. And I was a part of that group from, I want to say, 1989 all the way up, and I'm a
So when you
coordinator
say
in the
89,
group.
I mean, you were a kid then.
I was a kid,
Were
absolutely.
you one of the kid participants?
Yes, I was one of the kid participants, and then after I
Yeah.
graduated and came back, I became a mentor. And so,
Yeah. Okay.
as far as the mentor, that's where I got my early start of, wanting to give back. You have to care about something
Yeah.
to actually put work into it. Like if you don't care about it, you'll send money, something that hits you like, oh, I'll send money to it. But to actually put in the work, put in the time, you know what I mean?
Well, so I think, I mean, that kind of alludes to, mentorship and examples of black males. That reminds me
Absolutely.
of the 10th grade class I was in at Mount Vernon with Holbrook, where it was all, with that sparked, okay, like, well, Holbrook was a cool black dude that took care of me.
Yep.
Then I feel like, he kind of sparked my interest
Yeah.
in being a member of Alpha Phi Alpha and all
Absolutely.
that stuff. So it's kind of like you give back because someone has given to you.
Yeah.
And usually that's what's cyclical. It becomes cyclical.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So one of your, I noticed, unfortunately, I was not able to attend.
Yeah.
But you do major events like the Black Panther movie premiere.
Oh, that was cool.
That was pretty cool.
Oh,
you
that
do
was
some-
dope.
you do
Shout out
what-
to John Chapman, man. Who, Councilman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Councilman
don't even know
Chapman.
me, but I know him.
Yeah, Councilman Chapman, who, we threw the Black Panther event last year,
Yeah.
man. It was real big, man. I think what made that such a big event is that it wasn't just the movie. The movie portrayed us in a light that we had never been portrayed.
Yeah.
And it was a fictional movie, but it
was pretty dope.
it was dope. You know what I'm saying? It was dope. We all came together, and so I actually, it's funny because I was thinking like, man, we should do something. I should do something. Bring people out, and we started it like, we're just gonna get a group of people together. You know what I mean? We're in this comic book group on Facebook, and we put it out there like, yo, if we organize, 20, 25 of us, we'll go to the movies. And everybody was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it went like 25, then it was 50, and then it was 100. Then we said, John reached out to me like, yo, we should do something for real. And so it started really small and got to the point where we had to turn people away because we didn't think it would be as big. I mean, we had 700-800 people
At the
out.
Potomac Yard movie theater.
We is at Potomac Yard, the Regal.
Was that your largest service event that you put on?
Yes, that was the largest as far as people all in one day. But we've had other events where more people came over, like a 2 or 3 day weekend. But that was dope. Yeah.
Why don't we go back and then what was one of your, so we talked about you going through the Untouchables, being involved as a kid, and then you becoming a mentor.
Yeah.
What was one of your first events that you put on for the community?
One of the first events.
One of the earliest memories.
First I can think about. Let me think.
And it was you. I'm not going to talk about the Untouchables.
Yeah.
I mean, one that was like you wrote down the idea. It was your brainchild.
So, see, I don't like to take all the credit for things because even when you have an idea, it takes more than you to do anything.
Right.
And so, just think about a lot of things. Yeah, I might have came up with the idea.
Okay.
But it took other people,
Okay, so let's go. So let's go back within. That's a good point. Obviously you need assistance.
You need it all.
But what was one of your first ideas then, and then you got the support you needed? So it was your idea, but so you get the credit for the idea, but you obviously got the support. What was one of your earliest ideas?
Well, I wanted to get kids together out at athletic events. I wanted people to, because a lot of kids in the neighborhood, you don't know if they have, male role models.
Okay.
And so we start organizing games, trips to like Georgetown.
Okay.
And
the basketball games.
Yeah, basketball games,
Okay.
the Wizards, and different things like that. And of course, I love basketball, played basketball, all the way up. And so that started, that was just the foundation of.
Was that through the Untouchables?
That was through the Untouchables, through other organizations, but I never really until probably about 3 years ago is when I first said that, yeah, we're doing this, but more needs to be done. Okay. Now, kids need to be educated, not just entertained. Exactly, because a lot of times we think entertainment is education, and it's not. No. It's not.
Science.
They need it all, and they need it all. And you have to realize, do they have, the knowledge. What do they need? And then you have to meet them there. And so I keep saying the Untouchables, but the Untouchables had tutors. Way back then. Way back, it had people coming from the Pentagon. You had military people who would take their time out, come all the way to Charles Houston, teach us math, science, different things. And so just that motto, I try to use moving forward. You know what I mean? And
so what was, so you said tutors. What was, I'm trying to think now. You got me like thinking down in a brain child. So tutors, academics,
basketball sports. Absolutely.
What was some of the obstacles? Were like resistance from parents? What was some of the obstacles that came with those things?
So the number one obstacle that I and other people that help out, we run into is parents trusting that this is not just a drop in the bucket. Oh, this is one. I need some kids of color to come to this event, take some pictures, and then boom, I'm gone. Because they see people come in and out of their lives all the time.
Right.
And so gaining the trust of the parents, and them seeing that this is not just a photo op.
How'd you get buy-in? How do you get buy-in from the parents?
Well, first off, the kids have to be like parents can push their kids out there all they want, but ultimately you're going to be there with their kid, and you have to show the kid that you are all in. You know what I mean? I'm going to help you studies. I'm going to be there for the fun stuff. I'm going to be there for this. And once that, the kids will sell it to the parents. Not really a sell job, but they'll make the parents feel like, oh, well, this is something I can get behind.
Right. But it's true. You gotta, you got to market and sell it.
Absolutely.
These are programs, but they also. What about? I'm thinking obstacles. One of the biggest obstacles is money to do these things. How did you garner money to fund
money?
Like how did the Untouchables get money? How did the activities to take the kids to Georgetown? How did you get money to do those things?
So a lot of it is done by donations. A lot of it is done. The tickets are donated. You know what I mean? You hook up with people who have the connections to the tickets. Okay. They donate it that way. You have church, community, other community organizations. Just people that just donate money, love what you're doing, and then they'll donate to it.
Right.
And we'll talk more about my project now. With the scholarship, with my mom's foundation that I started, and you'll see like how I started, along with my wife and a couple other people.
Yeah.
How we, just basically, brainstormed what we wanted to be like. There's a lot of people out there doing stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got Councilman Willie Bailey. Shout out to Councilman Willie Bailey, by the way. He does coat drives and backpack drives and just different things around the city. City, not just City of Alexandria, but Fairfax County. He's a Fairfax County firefighter. Right. And I've partnered with him doing a lot of different things. He brought me out and just showed me that, you just got to do it here. You can make an impact. One person can literally make an impact that's broad.
100%.
And so just taking different pieces from other organizations and just trying to see where I fit in as, where can I have the biggest impact? Right. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, I can do coat drives and different things like that, but why not just partner with the person who's already doing it? Exactly. And publicize it and bring more people into it. Why would I want to duplicate that? No. What I would want to do, I need to find something else. Where can I fit in?
It's basically what you're saying is the delegation and connections.
Absolutely.
It's all about delegations and connections. Finding people. I always think one of my biggest things is mentorship, or find people that are doing the things that you want to do, and then ask them how you do it. Like this is not rocket science. I didn't know how to do a podcast. So what I do, I ask someone that knows how to do a podcast.
Absolutely.
How you do a podcast.
Yep.
So for you, how do I do a community event, coat drive? How do I do that?
Yep.
So with that being said, who was one of your community activist mentors that say, hey, these are some ideas. I saw you do it. Can you tell me how you do it?
Well, for me, outside of the Untouchables, which was a big impact in my life and still is, the one person who basically opened my eyes to different things outside of what I saw every single day, and expanded and said, you can do this, and on a smaller scale, but it was a big impact to me and other people, was a person named Mr. Carl Palmer, who was my 8th grade history teacher.
Where? 8th grade?
At George Washington Middle School.
Okay, yeah.
In Alexandria. Yeah, absolutely. And so what he would do is, he would just identify, kids that just needed things, what I mean? Whatever it was. And he would fill that gap.
Yes.
And so that was a more, I could be a part of a group and, 1 or 2 guys, they come and they take us out to a game, and then it's like, all right, cool, go back to, go back to your family life. But it impacted me more because I was like chosen, like, okay, this is, boom, I'm gonna, and that had more of an impact on me because that was a one-on-one connection. I see a black male role model, teacher, college graduate, and still was cool, wore, baggy jeans, what I mean? So it was somebody like I could, identify with.
That's
and
what
so,
it is. It's all about that.
Yeah, and so even today, they see me, I go to the Untouchables meetings or I go to other meetings, and sometimes I'm dressed down, sometimes they see me with a suit on. It's like, oh, Mr. Griffin, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, you get, they see me in a different light, but I want them to understand, like, I know I relate to this. I relate to you. I was there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to help you get here and get past, your situation.
Representation.
So that represent. Oh, it absolutely matters.
Shout out to Mr. Palmer.
Man. Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Mr. Palmer. Man.
So I mean, that's what I say, Holbrook, and I think that people, I would say, in regards to your community activism, people underestimate the value of just straight presence. Obviously, you want to show up, but that's like step one. Yeah, show up, and then obviously you can do more. But just the fact of actually showing up, kids absorb that and see that presence. Showing up and being present with your phone, not your phone on, like actively listening, engaged,
talking to kids one-on-one, being there. And so
it doesn't take that part can just take your genuineness and being yourself. It doesn't take. A lot of people think that I have to be this certain swagger or charisma or big personality or take over the whole room.
Don't need
but
that.
It could be a quiet guy that's just like one guy with the one pulls the kid to the side in that one-on-one relationship too.
Absolutely. The quiet guy is always listening.
Yeah.
He's listening. He's absorbing everything. He sees what the kids are thinking and hearing, and he's taking that to account. And then when he speaks volumes. Yeah. Because he speaks, he very rarely speaks. So when he does speak volumes. And so it's funny because the kids, you can't fake a kid out. Like a kid knows if you are engaged. Yeah. He will. You cross a kid, man, it takes a while for a kid to gain your trust. Kids have
a natural BS meter.
Absolutely.
I really believe that. Like they can cipher through phony. And just be yourself. If you're corny, be corny.
Be corny. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Be corny, be genuine. And I think that's a part of the stuff. But you got a story. Go ahead.
So one of the kids in the group.
Yeah.
So my job switches. And so I could be very, very busy or just there's no work for months. Okay.
No community work.
No, I'm talking about
real life work.
Real life work.
Okay,
I'm
got
talking
it.
about real life jobs. They're not community work.
Yeah.
And so I could be at every meeting, with the kids and they see me, and then I could be at one meeting a month.
Ghost, okay.
And so the kids notice.
They'll call you out.
Oh, will they call you out? Oh, yeah.
They say, where you been at? How you been?
Oh, no. You show up, and it's like, hey, man, we ain't seen you in a long time. Oh, yeah. How's everything? One kid told me this summer. It's like, man, Merry Christmas, man. I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, we ain't seen you since Christmas. I said, man, it ain't been that long, man. Nah, it wasn't that long, but they were messing with me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you come around, we need you to continue to come around. And so what I start doing is I start making an effort. Like, yeah, I could get busy and a lot of other things, but I've made this commitment to these kids. And if I'm not going to do it, why show up once every blue moon? And so, yeah, that was needed because you always, when you do things and you're always engaged and you're in the community, you can start to get to the point where you're like, maybe I can sit this one out. Yeah, you sit this one out. The kid is expecting you to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could change their whole, change their whole outlook. And so, yeah, it was just funny.
So, it'd be interesting to know, like, you're doing a lot of service for other kids. How do you balance, I know you're a father yourself, how do you balance giving to other kids that probably need help, but also not neglecting your own kids?
Man, that's so hard.
Yeah.
It really is, because there's not enough time in the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so my kids are 5 and 3. Mm-hmm. My daughter is in kindergarten. You know, my son goes to pre-K, but he's in daycare at a pre-K school. And so trying to balance work, not just a father, being a husband, and still have responsibilities outside of your home, to different, organizations, different things, man, it's tough, but my kids are young, you know what I mean, young, and I don't want to miss, you know what I mean, I'm not going to be the dad that misses practice, you know what I mean, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be this, that, and so, I had a conversation with my wife some months back, and she, noticed that the kids my daughter would normally, I would come home at a certain time. And so if I stayed at work late to like 5 or 6 o'clock and I had an engagement at 6:30, I wouldn't come home because I needed to be at that engagement at 6:30. Yeah. So my daughter might not see me that night. And then in the morning I might be gone before she gets up to go to school. And so if that's like, it's like, I haven't seen Daddy in 2 days. And I think about like, man.
She calls it out.
She calls it out.
Well,
absolutely.
No, my son is doing that too. He's like, Dad, are you going to go see a friend if I go out after bedtime? And, quite honestly, that's a very true statement too, because I definitely want to give myself to Alpha Phi Alpha and the community stuff they want to do. But then at the same time, it's like, family first, Alpha second.
Family first.
So
absolutely.
So I had to put in my Google Calendar when I'm going to do service things and sometimes I even delegate to myself well, I'm going to skip a chapter meeting.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to go to a chapter meeting if we have in the same month a community service event. Because then I think what would be more important, me sitting through a meeting and taking notes about what we're going to do, or actually going to an event. So I have in my mind what we're doing for Martin Luther King Day. Like, okay, well, I'm going to do some of the stuff for Martin Luther King Day. But then I'm not going to go to the January meeting, the once a month meeting. And I had to delegate, giving myself to an organization that has a bigger cause, similar to you giving yourself to a community, which is a bigger cause. So the bigger cause is the community or the organization. But at the same time, who cares if you give to this bigger community if you're not taking care of your home community, your home nucleus?
Being a success in the streets and a failure at home is not being a success.
No, you're not a success. Right.
Because ultimately, the people in outside of your home only see you at certain times.
Right.
People at home see you every single day. You want to know about a person, you ask the people at home.
Right.
You want to know you want to know about a person, you want to know who he truly is. The people at home know exactly. Yeah. Maggie knows exactly who you are.
Exactly.
There's nothing. Trust me. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's nothing. And so it's just one of those things that you have to take care of home. And when my kids get older, they'll be right there with me.
That's what I was saying. I was about to say that too. It's like one of the things I do look forward to. And I've started to do some of it. It's like I try to see what alpha events that I can do that are family friendly. So for instance, we have a March of Dimes walk, right? And we raise the money for March of Dimes, and then at the day of the walk, the march, we walk around Nationals Park. I was like, well, let me
definitely take the kid.
Taking Bennett. So absolutely. I took Bennett, had the stroller, and like Maggie, I got Bennett for Saturday morning. And I'm gonna combine being with my alpha brothers, but at the same time combining that. So eventually down the line, like if we have like a soup kitchen or some kind of thing in the community, I'm like, well, I want to show my son black men doing things in the community.
Absolutely.
And kill two birds with one stone. And I have my wife saying, you're not around the kids.
You're not around the kids.
So I'm going to bring them to this show.
So it's funny because not only, with the community engagement, I'm a business owner, photography business, and it's really, really picking up. And it's to the point where sometimes I can have so much going on that if I don't bring my family with me, they would never, you know what I mean? They wouldn't see me.
So you bring them to the community events.
Oh, they're at the community events. I mean, it's funny. So sometimes I mix the community events and photography at the same time, and so they'll come. Yeah, they'll come. And I never try to say, "Oh no, Daddy's at work." This, and that. No, they'll come. They'll see Daddy. They'll come give me a hug. This, and that for a little bit, and by that time, they're sleeping tired. They go home, get a nap or whatever. But they saw Daddy. You know what I mean? They actually felt like they were a part of it, and so that's the struggle. Trying to make sure there's room for it all, but if there's not room for it all, family first. Period. You never can forget that. You know what I mean? You can't. You cannot forget that. Family first, because at the end of the day, these are you are mandated to take care of your family.
Yeah, I mean, what good is a guy what good is a guy out in the community if your kids hate you?
What are you? That's why it goes back to you can be a success in the street, but if you're a failure at home, you're a failure. You're a failure. You're a failure in it all.
And I think it would break a cycle that's not a good cycle. Like that.
No.
Then you, ideally, as a parent, probably wouldn't raise your kids to even want to do service, because they're gonna be like, well, service is whack because it took me away from being home. So they won't see that as a positive thing if they don't see it incorporated with you in it.
That's why wife, kids, everybody has to be engaged in it, because
or buy into it at least.
Or buy into it, exactly.
Right.
And so it's going good, man. I enjoy it. I think the one thing I love doing. Well, I love doing the community engagement, especially in Alexandria, because the kids are often forgotten.
Right.
You know what I mean? Alexandria it has become like, very, very upper middle class.
Alexandria, like the house is $1 million, man.
Man.
I will go back and I'm gonna call you. Yeah. You are the Alexandria historian. You know a lot about the history. Yeah. But here's some history. You know that the one on Washington Street, that White House, the restaurant. I found out later on in life that my grandfather worked at that restaurant.
Wow.
It was all black, and he, I don't know, he was in Howard or something. I gotta get that part right. Yeah. I'm about to get, do some archiving myself. But my grandfather, who's Charlotte, I know him all about Charlotte in the South, had a stint in D.C. At that, and there was a large black community, but no one even thinks about that now. Now I see like Fachaluna and all these like Williams Sonoma and all that, and that like fancy grocery store, and no one thinks about how that whole Washington Street and that whole Alexandria area was mostly black.
Ain't no mostly black.
It was
all black.
Except for the maybe those fancy houses, the cobblestone junks.
Yeah, but that's Washington Street up, and then you got the Bird, you got down there, and so
it was all black. But now I don't think people even know that. If they
move of course not if they move here, because I think that at a certain time we were everywhere in Alexandria, and then
we as
black people, we got good jobs, and then we decided to move to the suburbs.
What suburbs considering, like down the highway a little bit?
Fairfax, out Manassas, Woodbridge, Manassas, because you can get a bigger place and all that. And we sold those houses. Yeah. And then when it became cool to move back into the city, live in the city, live in a little, you know what I mean?
Right.
Live in a smaller house, but you're close to everything. Right. Hop, skip, and a jump from D.C. You can go across the bridge. You're in Maryland. When that became, when we try to come back, you can't afford it. Because now they've jacked the prices up. I mean, literally, the house I grew up in on 816 Madison Street, right across from Charles Houston Rec. Okay.
Yeah, it's a house.
It was a townhouse. Okay. I think my mom was paying back then. It's like $900, which was a lot of money back then. Right. They tore all those houses down. Yep. And they put up $800,000 on the low end to $1 million condos. They're not even townhomes. Yeah. They're condos. Yeah. $800,000. Yeah. In the same, and so it's just
the same space.
Same space, same size, same this. And so what I look at is there are some black people who stayed. Their family had been there
There's still
since
that little corner there.
have been there since after slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Had that house and they just pass it down and they won't sell because it means more to them than selling. Than the money.
But they can get a lot of money.
Oh, they can get. I mean, I'm a part of the Department Progressive Club, which is the oldest black organization club in Alexandria. It's been there since 1927. It was started out of necessity. In 1927, you could have a government job, but you couldn't join the white fraternities. You couldn't join the white organizations. It was still segregated. And so you had 9 black government workers who came together and started their own club called the Departmental Progressive Club. And so basically they started on community activism and wholesome entertainment. It was not just community activism. They wanted to have fun too. Yeah. But it was an organization and it's still thriving today. I joined. I mean, my grandfather, my father, my grandmother, my aunts, everybody has either been there or, been a member of the organization. And it's just funny that later on in life, I became a member. Right. You know what I mean? I've been a member going on 3 years. And
yeah, you kind of turn it to your parents.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I turned it to my dad.
Yeah,
I turned it to my dad in other ways.
And it's funny because, like I told you, I lost my dad when I was an early teenager. And people that went to school with him are members of the organization. I walked in there and they were like, Walter Griffin's your dad. I'm like, yeah, how did you know that? I was like, man, you look just like him. Yeah. It's like, yeah, man, the stories I can tell you about your dad. And it made me, the history and everything. And so I don't think we've done a good job of like documenting history.
Yeah, how do you want to do that?
Funny that you ask. And so 2 years ago, said that once I changed my name, I said that I would I would direct a documentary on my dad and the Parker Gray basketball team. Yeah. Parker Gray is the all-black high school in Alexandria that if you lived anywhere in Alexandria, you either went to Parker Gray. That was the only high school that blacks could go to. It was still segregated. And so my father went there along with my uncles and aunts and everybody. Yeah. I mean, anybody
This before they Remember the Titans.
Come on. Remember the Titans in the 70s. That movie came out, 71, I think? Yeah. They were the 60 whatever team. Yeah. And my dad graduated in 1957.
Got it. So it was a different.
It was a way different time. And so, the things that the movie portrayed just magnified it by 20 in the 50s.
Yeah, right.
With segregation and different things like that. And so here's why I'm doing the documentary. It's based on my father, but it brings all that other stuff to light. The community, basketball team. My father was one of the first African American players at UConn.
Yeah,
University
I saw that article.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
Yep. And
please put that article in the show
absolutely.
notes.
Yeah, definitely.
Have the people
definitely, yeah. I put some stuff in there, and so it was just amazing to hear about this stuff after he died. Like my father was a man of very few words. Oh. He never told me about any of this stuff. He never said never said he was a big time basketball player. Never said he did this. Never said he did that. He just wanted to be a dad. And it's funny because he went to the Alexandria City Public Schools Hall of Fame in 2017, and a guy from the paper came and interviewed me for it, and I highlighted some of the stuff. Like, I didn't know this when he was alive. Like, I learned all this stuff from people that knew him.
And the reading, the research.
And researching it. And to think that you can go into a newspaper, a newspaper place, and they still have the books. Like, literally, they have every single newspaper that they've ever published.
Wow.
By the year.
Wow.
By the year. 1955. Every single newspaper. I go in there, I look at every article. 1956. Look at every article. 1957. And Washington Post, too. I researched the, articles that they had on Washington Post. I mean, they were very successful. 3-time state basketball.
That's like my dad. My dad, I mean, I know about my dad's accomplishments. when he first integrated Hampton and going to States. And I went to Annandale High School and they lost to Annandale. So when I go to Annandale, I can see the year that they lost to my dad. And my father was one of the first 4 or 5 African Americans to go to VMI.
Look at that.
But it's interesting to say enough that he don't talk about it like that. Like, people don't brag about themselves.
Not just
I don't think maybe it's that generation.
Not just that. It's not even about the bragging. It's about what they actually went through. You see the accomplishments.
I don't think they talk about how bad it was.
You don't see how bad it was.
Yeah, they don't talk about how bad it was either.
Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like that. Like that's just like, oh yeah, I did all that stuff, and yeah, I was one of the first. But
one story of my dad that stuck in my brain was that my dad's like, oh, it's no big. I just went to VMI. I was, only black person. But then when he drove into Lexington, Virginia, it said, "Welcome to Lexington, home of the Virginia chapter of the KKK."
Absolutely.
And I was like, so my dad just like shook that off, like some like
yeah. So imagine my dad going from an all black, seeing nothing but blacks in high school and in elementary school and to Stores, Connecticut.
Okay.
Nothing but white people.
Yeah. To play at UConn.
To play at UConn.
Yeah.
Still segregated.
Yeah, it's in the
it's in the 50s. Yeah. Still segregated. And so imagine that. Imagine the shock. Imagine the shock of just, now you go from 100% black to, .0000. Yeah.
That's my boy Hilton in Idaho right now.
Yeah. It's a shock, bro. It's a shock. And so when you wonder why they didn't talk about it, it's like, man.
Maybe it wasn't that fun. Maybe they didn't want to talk about it.
Man, you got to bring up the bad stuff too.
Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe they don't want to talk about it because it wasn't that fun and it's not like happy memories.
So what my dad, I found this out later on. My dad did not tell me about his basketball, career and different things. It wasn't just that. It was track star too as well. Yeah. And very, very smart in mathematics, which is why I went into, that's my field. Went into mathematics. I'm counting anything with numbers, anything dealing with numbers. I excel in, But my grandmother, his mom, the very first time she went to see him play at University of Connecticut, she died in the stands at halftime.
Oh no! So
imagine telling the story of your basketball career, and every time you bring that up,
you think about your mom.
You think about your mom.
I'm not gonna talk about it.
You never bring it up, right?
No, that's terrible.
Okay, and he never did.
He never talked about basketball.
Never talked about it.
So you found us all post.
I found this. Long. My father died in 1996. You know what I mean? 1996. And
what sparked your research?
What sparked my research? I was playing.
Stuff
the 1997, the year after he died, I was playing in a basketball tournament, AAU basketball tournament at George Washington Middle School.
Okay.
It was junior high school then.
Yeah.
It's junior high school now, middle, whatever.
Yeah.
I was playing in a basketball tournament. And I walked in. We had played a game before, and then it was another game that's going to go on. We were going to come play. And so I walked in the gym, and this guy walked up to me. And he looked like he saw a ghost.
Okay.
Like, "You're Walter Griffin's son." I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you know that? And man, he said, "Stay right there." And so he left the gym. Came back probably like 10 minutes later and had a whole notebook of clippings from, he was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Dad, that's my dad." He's like, "Look, who's that?" He was like, "Man, did you know your dad was one of the first black players at the University of Connecticut?"
You're like, "No."
What? Get out of here. Man, get that. We played on the state championship team together. And so he started telling me.
On a team together.
This is somebody he grew up with who played on the teams with him. And so he's like, he was happy to share that with me. His name is Robert Dawkins. Okay, they call him old folks.
But he was
excited. He was real excited. Robert Dawkins, anybody in Alexandria knows Mr. Dawkins. Mr. Dawkins has been probably the most inspirational person with doing this documentary. He opened up his house. I came in. He told me stories. He showed me newspaper articles because he's done a lot of things documenting the history of Alexandria.
He was excited about it.
very excited because, and when he saw how excited I was to know about it,
Got
you
young
know what I
person.
mean? Got young person. So he saw me then. I think I was 16 at the time. Probably didn't see me again until I was like 28 or something like that.
Some gap,
and
but-
so when I came back and I told him what I was doing, he said, "Man,
I was waiting.
He said it exactly what he said. I was waiting for you to come back 12 years later. I was waiting for this moment. Look what I've compiled."
So you got more stuff.
He had already put stuff together in anticipation of, you know what I mean, me coming back, sharing that story because, I mean, he was like, "Man, I'm so excited." He's like, "Yo, I'm up in age. I can't do the things that you can do. I can't go to places that you can go. I don't have the time that you have."
Yeah.
And so he was just excited.
What's the internet?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And so when I told him how I found those articles, he was like, "So you went down there?" I was like, "Yeah, I just went down there. They just let me." I mean, literally put me in a room at a table and left me there for hours.
Yeah, you got it together.
And they kept coming back, like, you know, every hour or so, like, "You need anything to drink?" I was like, "No, I'm good."
So we're actually, I mean, we probably could do the part 2 of this
Yeah,
episode.
definitely.
But you know, just for the listeners, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the scholarship, the name and the origin of that scholarship, and maybe, you know, the process of doing, because as we said, for community activism, how can the common person create a scholarship? Because that's pretty dope. Shout out, though, I would say Alpha Phi Alpha, we do have a scholarship as well.
Yeah.
And so I believe your scholarship is a
501(c)(3).
So I'm getting more familiar with these terms.
Yeah.
But break it down for the common man.
So, a little backstory on it. The foundation, scholarship foundation, and my wife started, is in honor of my mother. It's the Deborah Denise Smith Foundation. And my mother passed away from colon cancer back in August of 2017. Okay. And just to give you a backstory of that, my mom she's originally from Statesville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Which is right outside of Mooresville, North Carolina, which is right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, Charlotte.
So,
yeah,
absolutely. It's yeah. And so majority of my family still lives down there. Still is in the South. And not to break the story real quick, but I want to shout out my cousin, Avery Crump, who just became the first woman DA in Guilford County, North Carolina, which
shout out to her.
Yeah, definitely shout out. You know what I'm saying? Put in definitely. I'll definitely put the article in the show notes. She just got sworn in yesterday, and so it was a big accomplishment. From Statesville, North Carolina, graduated from Statesville High School, went on to Chapel Hill, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Carolina, you know, I had to get the Tar Heels in there.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You know what I mean? That might be part 2.
No, it's
gonna be tonight. Yeah, and Tar Heels, and then went and got her law degree from North Carolina Central.
Okay. So your mom's from the South. She's from there.
From there.
Family's doing well down there.
Family's doing well. Yeah, absolutely.
So she's up here.
Yeah, she came. She moved here when she was about 20, 21. Started a family. Met my dad.
Okay.
Rest is history. But she moved back in 2000. I want to say 6.
Okay. Back down south. Okay.
Back down south. 2006 or 7.
Okay, 2000
something. And went back to Statesville, North Carolina. I mean, Statesville, North Carolina, if you drive by it, you'll miss it.
Okay.
If you're not, small. I mean, everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
Literally. And so she went down there, and, you know, I would talk to her, but she was back in her element. You know, she was loving life.
She like quiet town?
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah, love it. And so, got married. She came to the wedding. Got married. She had a ball. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, got married. Second marriage, okay?
Huh? No, me.
Okay,
I was talking
I was like,
my
no.
Mom
going down south.
Mom went down south and got found her a boo and got married again. No.
I was like, all right, stay
No. Exactly. Nah, she ain't find nothing in Statesville, man.
Okay.
But
no, married.
I got married. She came back, had a ball.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter my daughter at the time, and then I get a call. This was in 2015 from the hospital. I'm like, what is this number? I know it's North Carolina. It's 704. So I'm like, answer it, and they're like, can you come to the hospital? And I'm like, okay. I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
It's like, where are you located? It was like Statesville. It's like, oh. So I knew it was about my mom. I was like, is my mom in the hospital or something? It's like, yeah, I think you need to come down here. And I'm like, so what's up? And they basically just said, it's not good. You need to come now. And so literally, I hung up the phone, looked my wife in her face, said, something's wrong with my mom. She said, go. She said, don't worry about it. My daughter was wanting some change. She said, don't worry about it. Go ahead. And so I literally drove 6-7 hours in the traffic because it was like 6:30 at night. The time, and going to Woodbridge and then that thing, passing through there. There's always traffic. And so, make a long story short, my mom had surgery to remove an obstruction in her stomach.
She didn't tell you about this?
Of course not.
Okay. Dang. So you got a dad they just keep things that they're very private.
Never told me.
Okay.
And so when they moved that obstruction, they found colon cancer. Oh. So I get down there. She's in the hospital 3 weeks. I stay down there by her bedside, and she's, they discharge her. And I tell her, you're moving back to
Virginia with me.
No doubt about it. I don't have room for you. You can have the bed. Whatever, like, you're coming back with me. No questions asked. And so in the back of her mind, she was like, yeah, when I get better, I'm coming back to North Carolina. So I was like, cool, whatever. You're coming back with me. So I drove her back and, went to the doctor. And the doctor said that he doesn't think that she should do chemo because at this time, he thinks it's too far along. Okay. Whatever. My mom prayed about it. She said, I'll do the chemo. Okay. She did the chemo. She lost her hair. Yeah. It was a long battle for probably about 6 months. And then after that 6 months, she was cancer free. Okay. Gone. Had the car. Taking the kids everywhere. I had my son. She was there. She was so excited. And just living life. And then
back in Northern Virginia, though.
Yeah, back in Virginia. And then she decided, I'm gonna stay. And so,
she didn't have no boo there.
She didn't have, exactly. She ain't had no boo down there. You know what I'm saying? She's like, Statesville ain't got nothing to offer me. Yeah. I need to come back to Alexandria to see if I can find something. And it's funny. She would always be like, she would always say like, I gotta find me a man. I gotta find me a husband. Y'all need a stepdaddy. I said, I'm 30.
Yeah, you didn't find that.
I don't need a stepdaddy. I'm good. Like, she always would say that.
You're not finding a stepdaddy.
You're not finding a stepdaddy. Nah. No, Statesville. And so, because half of them probably are family. You know what I'm saying? And so, but, 2 years passed, and then I could tell, like, she started wearing, like, head wraps. And I was like, what's she wearing head wraps for? And so, my wife told me one day that she pulled me to the side. She was just like, your mom don't want you to know, but she's losing her hair. I was like, that's just part of the process. And my wife was like, yeah, but she don't look good. And so took her back to the doctor. And the doctor basically ran a test or whatever, and the cancer had spread everywhere. And so...
She was very prideful. She kept this again.
Oh, she kept it. You know what I mean? And then even when, she did hospice, she was in hospice at my house. And even then, she didn't want people to really come by. And I just told her, I said,
people want to see you.
People want to see you, this, that. And so she did it. And, she ended up being in hospice for like 3.5 weeks and then died. But my mom was very, very lively. My mom didn't have education or money or this and that. But what she did is she put what she couldn't teach us, she made sure she put us in front of people that could.
Yeah.
5 boys. Yeah. 5 boys. She did that for 5 boys. I'm the middle child. I got 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. And she just did that for us. She always supported us in everything we did. Yeah. She never missed a basketball game. She never missed a football game. She never missed a track. Literally, she became a daycare provider so that she could provide for the family.
Yeah.
And
help other kids.
And help other kids. Literally.
So people know your kids. Other
absolutely.
Kids
my mom, my mom was instrumental in, raising, You know, but that's just how it was back then. I mean, there was no fanfare for that. It was that's just what people did.
Take care of each other. Community.
It was a community. You know what I mean? That's just what we did. Like, it wasn't no, you know. And so, yeah, that just rubbed off on me. And so I saw what she did. Mm-hmm. You know, she told me that she had dreams of doing this, and that. But she said once she had kids, their dreams became her dreams. And so she wanted us to go to school. She didn't want to put her dreams before us. And it's funny because that type of thinking is like an very old school. I'm going to stop what I'm doing to invest in my kids.
And that's not our generation.
Our generation. Please. Our generation don't stop. What?
I don't want to stop my dreams either.
No. But the difference is you don't have to. This generation
has more resources. Yeah.
They didn't have the resources back then. They had to choose between
your dreams or their dreams.
Oh, their dreams. And they chose your dream. You know what I'm saying?
The ones that did choose their own dreams are probably shitty parents.
Exactly. I mean, that's just what you did. I mean, that every you know, majority of parents did that. But it just showed me that, you know, yeah, I got this and I got that, but if we don't have it, we as in community, if one is left behind, we're all, you know what I mean, we're all just not doing it. And so what I try to do is, with the scholarship fund, I talked to my wife about it. You know, it came to me, I was just like, yo, I want to do something to give back, you know what I'm saying, honor my mother. And so we came up with it and filed it. Yeah, man, I mean, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
We filed it. I mean, it took some money to do it, and I, you know, put it out on Facebook, man, and I said this is what I'm going to do and honor my mother, and people donated, you know.
What is it's a scholarship? What is it going toward?
So the scholarship will go towards, it'll be given to, so the inaugural this year in March, we're going to give out 2 scholarships to 2 graduating seniors who are going to expand their education, whether it's college, trade school, whatever.
It needs to be something, okay?
It needs to be something. It needs to be something tangible, not start their own business at 18. Like,
no, you
need to learn, you know what I mean? You can do that. Yeah, go to school, trade school, whatever, because I didn't want to just do college because I know, I mean, I got people in my family. I got electricians and, you know, daycare providers and things. They didn't go to college, but they were very successful. And that takes money to actually do. And so I wanted to support, you know, people.
So is it Alexandria people?
So, no, not necessarily. One of the scholarships will go to an Alexandria resident. Yes. Okay. And so eventually, depends on the funding. So right now, we're in a position where we can give out 2 scholarships a year. Okay. And so eventually, I want to move it to where it's like a 4-year scholarship. Everybody gets the 4-year scholarship. You meet a certain criteria, you'll keep getting that scholarship every year, because just handing somebody $1,000 check and it's like, hey, all right, cool, the next one. But if you give people incentives that this is keep going, you know,
have a GPA minimum.
Have a GPA minimum. You tell them, look,
enrollment,
exactly. You stand right beside them while they're in school. That's more of an impact than just handing them some money and going on the way once. You know what I mean? And so, and it just goes to show that the people that try to go the extra mile are the people that really, really care. Like, just handing somebody some money and never talking to them again is just for a photo op. And I didn't want to be that.
All right. So, last question, and we're going to do our little shot for shot. Will there be a reception?
Yes, absolutely.
When is this?
It'll be in March. We haven't locked down a date. It'll be in March, and we're going to have it at the Departmental Progressive Club.
But you need, where's that at?
It's in 411 Gibbon Street in Alexandria, Virginia.
All right, one is I need to put that on my calendar.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's my life. It's how it's set up. Google. We put
Absolutely.
This on
Google calendar. We'll put it out.
Google calendar. Okay. Yeah. So we got to a really good part of the show. I think your story is very inspiring, and I think the things you're doing in the community is wonderful. This is the part of the show we call Shot for Shot. Have you listened to podcasts before? Shot for Shot, where you get to ask a random question. I ask a random question. and we answer it honestly. I've been thinking about my random question for a couple of days. So you want to go first? I go first.
You go first.
The tagline is be blessed.
Yeah,
Can we talk about the background of be blessed?
Let's talk about it. Okay. So I started saying be blessed.
Yeah.
As a troll
Yes.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it basically has dual meaning.
Yes.
It's either be blessed. You know what I mean? It's you know, or just like come on, dude, like what are you doing? Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? And so it's funny because it just came to me, and I just start putting it. You know, it really started with me trolling.
Yes.
Duke fans after losing, or if North Carolina wins. That's what started. And so there's this whole Be Blessed Nation. Shout out to James Gibson, who who puts it on everything now. You know what I mean? You put it, Phil. You definitely put it on there, but it's taking like its own thing. Because now Duke fans, when we lose, they'll put the headline "Be Blessed."
Be blessed. Yes.
They'll say, it was a rough day for the Be Blessed Nation. That's what they call us, the Be Blessed Nation.
Be blessed.
Yeah. So it's so funny though. Yeah.
I love how it has a little snarkiness.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
How was that game? You lost by 20. Be blessed.
Be blessed. Exactly.
It's very funny.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So my turn.
So, what is the inspiration behind doing this? What made you want to do a podcast?
Oh, in the first place?
Yeah.
It's fun. I like to talk.
Absolutely.
I would say I started with the Ill Phil Awards, and that was just fun. Handing out certificates and have a whole backstory of that. And then I did videos in my car.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I'm not really a good videographer. I'm like trash at it. All I was doing was setting my phone in my car on the car mount and talking at the camera.
Yeah.
And I looked at my YouTube videos I used to call random ramblings in my car, and I was like, wow, the content was good. I'm getting better at talking. I'm getting better at talking to people. I mean, that's boring. I'm just sitting in my car. Yeah. So I was like, well, I want to still talk. I still want to have a message. Yeah. And then I was like, well, audio is cool. I like podcasts. I don't have a face for radio. Well, no. Was it? I do have a face. You do have a face for radio.
You got a radio face.
I got a radio face.
Yeah.
So I thought it was okay. Yeah. And then I just said, I listened to it. I listened to a couple of podcasts. I was like, someone said, okay, podcast is basically the audio YouTube. Yep. Like, if you have an idea and you know how to have a microphone and you particularly don't like to do the whole video stuff, do a podcast. And that's it. Like, a lot of people think that I have this grand plan of things, or like I'm a orchestrator. Usually most of my ideas are just random and I just figure it out as I go along. So it kind of sparked from there. I like talking and I like having a message. And I don't think I wanted to do videos because this is easier. It's easier to hit a mic and hit record than have to do all this chopping up and stuff. So.
Yeah, we'll get it to the point where you do
video.
Like
someone told me, like, do you want to do a video podcast?
Yeah.
I was like, for what? Like, you want to see me talk in front of a microphone?
That's how they do it. Just think about all the podcasts. Think about what ESPN does right now.
I know, but
literally.
I saw the Joe Rogan one and all that. I get so bored. I was like,
just watching them,
No, so I can listen to them. So I just because I'd rather do something else than look at them. Yeah. So when I listen to podcasts, which I do, I listen to them in my car and I listen to them at work. I still do something other than staring. So I be typing on my computer. Yeah,
you don't want to stare.
So for me, that helps.
Yeah,
so I think about the listeners. I know they want to see me talk on a mic. Maybe they don't want to hear me talk. But maybe for those visual people, I don't know. Maybe coming in 2019, while I record this, I'll have a camera in the corner facing me. But that's not it.
Or you can just do little vlog set, the little 10-minute, 5-minute sessions. It don't have to be the whole podcast.
I got this new nice Logitech.
I see. Yeah.
Shout out to Don for that. But we'll see in the podcast. Yeah. It started with just the idea, and like you said, it's not that serious. Yeah. So we really had a wonderful episode. This is probably one of my best episodes. I'm actually going to say that, put it on record. I want to give you the opportunity as we wrap up this episode to give out any shout outs to people, and any plugs as in your businesses, your organizations, and that. Make sure that the shout outs and not the shout outs, but the plugs, whatever you plug, I want to make sure that you put it in the show notes so that people can have an opportunity to follow up. But this is your platform, your stage.
Well, let's first start up my wife, who's been, very inspiring.
Good man.
Yeah, definitely. Come on, I got to go home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I didn't shout out my wife, this
trouble.
would be the last podcast ever. But no, because she's been, been very, very inspirational and helps me a lot. Formatting things, getting things together. She's basically the brains behind. Well, I come up with ideas and she says, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do this. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Can I just interrupt? Does she have a background in organization?
So my wife, she was a teacher. She was a English teacher, and so she knows ways of order and how it's supposed to all of that. And so she uses that to help me out. Help us out with various things, and that goes for my business. Photographer, Griffin Vision Photography.
Okay.
Been doing it for a long time, and it's very, it's probably what I would do more if I had, if it was bringing in the big bucks. That's what I would do. And with the community activism, I would just be, I would just community activist, the photographer. I would just go around to different places and just shoot. That's all I would do, and merge and put them together. And so, which is one of the things I want to do with the foundation. I want to teach young kids how to actually, control of camera, not just their iPhone. Like actually control it, like how I learned to control the camera. Get the shot that you want, not why is this blurry? Why is this dark? It's because of this. It's because of that. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to do through the foundation. I'm going to, try to get some funding to buy some cameras so that I can, actually teach a class, and different things like that. And so, So the foundation, Deborah Denise Smith Foundation. The website is www.deborahdsmithfoundation.org. You can find out more about what we're trying to do, what we're doing. See some pictures from the Breakfast with Santa event that was awesome, that we just did in December the 15th. Shout out to everybody who donated, because it can't be done without people actually believing in what you do. Donations.
Business. You did the business. You did the foundation.
Yep.
The Untouchables.
Definitely the Untouchables. The Untouchables been very inspirational in everything that I've done up to this point. They were the first people that I looked at that I could say, man, I can do that one day. And they were always positive, and they were definitely there for me when after my father died. You know what I'm saying? Looking at positive black men who were actually had status and took the time out to take us places and teach us things and different things like that. And so, definitely shout out them, Theodore Jones and James Chucky Moore, and Mr. George Logan. Now he's deceased now, but Mr. Cash, Mr. Rodney Cash, and so many other people who basically helped mold the man that I am now. I don't know.
That's it. That's good.
Shout out to T.C. Williams and Mount Vernon High School. I had to throw that in there, but you know what I'm saying. Once a Titan, always a Titan. Shout out to Be Blessed Nation. You know what I'm saying. Be Blessed
Shout
Nation.
Out to UNC.
Yeah, UNC. Oh, hold on.
I'm a fellow UNC fan. So
UNC. You know what I mean. The University of North Carolina Tar Heels, man.
When did they win a championship? I can't remember.
I remember it was in 2017, man. The redeemed team after we lost in 2016. We came back and actually took the title, and I just want to shout out
Roy Williams
for believing in that team, and just a beautiful thing, man. We got Carolina stickers and everything. My car has Carolina all day.
Yeah.
I believe.
My mom went there for med school.
Yeah,
so
definitely. We Carolina all day. But that is a perfect way to end this podcast.
I think so.
On
so
Carolina.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the positive filter is very positive about UNC.
About UNC. Yeah, absolutely.
And not Duke.
No.
Thank you so much for being on the episode. This is wonderful. I definitely will encourage everyone to put this in the show notes, and please support this brother in all his endeavors. in the community. I like to say your man of action and doing is proven to me that you just want to, if you have an idea, do it, or at least ask people that are doing it, and just do it. It's not that crazy. It's not that hard. And I'm not trying to say oversimplify what you're doing. I'm just saying, if you have an idea or something you want to do, just get the information, and we have the resources as opposed to the resources our parents did not have.
Absolutely.
We got a microphone, we got cameras and internet and things. So we have visions and things we want to do. It's a lot easier for us to do. So thank you so much for showing people that way, the people of Alexandria, the people of Northern Virginia. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe, share, do whatever you do with podcasts. Call the hotline numbers 571-336-6560, 571-336-6560, or leave a question for the podcast. This has been great. This has been one of my best episodes. We're gonna share this on everything, and thank you so much.
Rest in peace, Mom. Rest in peace, Dad.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.